Hey guys, welcome to the Top Percentile. My name is Anak Dave and I scored 99.86 in CAT 2020. CAT 21 is 2 days away and it's literally the last stage of your prep so far. It's the culmination of all the efforts that you put in over time, over the last year, over the last 2 years, so many months of effort, and this is the final time that has come. This is the fourth video that we made on CAT. If you've seen the earlier three videos, great. I hope they've been helpful to you. This one is just more about 7 tips that I have, 7 last-minute tips rather, that I have to offer on how you should be focusing in the next 2 days or the next one day, depending on when you watch this video. So just without wasting too much of your time, because this is the final stage, I'll just get into it. The first thing that I want you to keep in mind is that you need to revise each and every mock that you've done and all the formulas that you have that you know. I'm sure if you're a serious aspirant, you must have kept track of all the formulas that you use. In math, there are a bunch of formulas that you need to know. If you don't know the formulas, you won't be able to solve the questions. If for example, you still have not made a formula list, it's very easy to do so. You can take any book that you find Arun Sharma or any class material that you can find, or you can ask your friends for it as well, and just write down all the formulas, because this becomes very handy, at least in remembering and revising them. The first step that you need to do is revise all the formulas. And the second sub part of that would be revising all the mocks. The reason this is important is because even if you've taken, let's say, 20 mocks, you've solved 20 into how many ever questions have come in each and every mock in that section. If you're able to solve even 80% of them correctly, if you're able to solve even 50% of them correctly, you should be able to solve that many in the paper as well. It's a confidence boosting exercise that is there, which ties into the points ahead as well, but it's a good confidence boosting exercise. You need to keep in mind that if you're able to solve the mocks, you will be able to solve the paper on the day of the exam as well. So revise your mocks, revise your formulas. It does not take too long. You want to be in a relaxed state. You don't want to take too many mocks right now. Don't try to focus on too much. That kind of brings me to my second point, which is not learn anything new. Just focus on what you know. You might want to learn new formulas at this stage. You might think that let's learn how a trapezium works, or what the rules of what new rules and new geometric figures would be. But at this stage, it does not make sense to do that. You want to keep it as simple as possible. You want to just go and finish the exam now. You want to take the exam to the best of your efforts. जितना हो सके अभी उतना करना है. अभी ज्यादा करके कुछ फायदा नहीं होने वाला है. Just keep that in mind, because if you keep trying to go back to the old things and learning new, it's going to become confusing for you. After a point, it is a law of diminishing marginal utility. It is going to be diminishing now at this stage. Had we been 2 weeks before this or 3 weeks before this, it would be a different situation. But right now, what you need to build is your confidence. The third part this again brings me again. All these points are quite interconnected. So the third point is stick to your core. What is the core in this? Over the next 2 days, what I want you to do is to stick to the basics. Any management exam is essentially targeting three things. It is testing your verbal skills, it's testing your logical, and it's testing your quants. It doesn't matter which exam it is. A few exams will have GK, a few exams will have abstract, but mainly the core of the exam is going to be these three sections. How do you practice verbal? Verbal practice karna matlab padho, passages padho. That's all you have to do. You read passages, you read them fast, you read to understand. You'll be through with the verbal section. That's as in for the practice for the verbal section, that's what I'd suggest you do over the next 2 days. You do not need to keep reading RCs and keep solving RCs and thinking, oh, my accuracy is reducing, this is happening, that is happening. If you've noticed in the mocks, your accuracy would be wavering. There would be a huge change in your accuracy throughout the mocks, because it all is a function of how much you understood in the verbal section, how much you understood in the RC. So when it comes to verbal, go back to the core, which is reading. Read passages properly. Try to read as much as possible. Keep it light reading. You don't have to go too much into depth. Don't read science, too in-depth science articles. Just read a good amount of English, so that you are in the zone, that when you see the paper, you just read it as fast as possible and comprehend what is there. Secondly, the logical section, you can solve a couple of puzzles over here. You can solve a couple of sets that you missed out. Again, coming back to the first point, in your mocks, if there are any sets that you missed out on that you can solve now using the shortcuts that you've learned or the methods that you've learned now, please go back to it and apply that. Practicing that is going to be enough for the logical section. There aren't really formulas that you require in the logical section in CAT. It is more about seeing the question, thinking about whether you can solve it or not, and solving it. That's all I can suggest for the logical section, but it's the practice that matters. So again, go back to the mocks and build your confidence there. The third section will be the quant section. And in the quant section, you need to keep in mind that there are lots of formulas. So I've already mentioned the first point, revise the formulas, but it's not only knowledge that you require in quants, it's also the application of the knowledge. So when it comes to application or applying the knowledge, you need to practice. use websites like mathtrainer.org, mathtrainer.org. If you just Google math trainer, you'll get the website. There are lots of websites like this where you can just constantly test math. You can constantly take random questions of math and just see how well you can solve it. It helps your brain stay in the zone that, you know, it's not giving up. It's not giving up. It's not relaxed. It's in that stage where you want to be, you don't want to burn out, but at the same time you want to be at the peak of it. Like, it's a very delicate stage right now. So in the end, you have to do all these other exercises which help you stay in that zone. So summing up this point, stick to the core competencies being verbal, logical, and quants. And how do you outline the core? I've already explained that. Please stick to that. There is no need to excessively give new mocks now, or learn new things. Please remember that. The fourth point that I want to bring your attention to is how many questions you should attempt. I've got multiple questions on how you should be attempting things or how many you should attempt. While there is no one set figure for this, you have to keep in mind that every year the paper is going to vary. Every section is going to vary. Every slot is going to vary. So if every slot is going to vary, does it make sense going with the mindset that हाँ मैं आज जाके सिर्फ 5 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट करने वाला हूँ, क्योंकि लास्ट ईयर 5 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट किए, उनको 90 परसेंटाइल आ गया, मुझे 90 परसेंटाइल चाहिए तो हो जाएगा. That's not what you do. If there are 5 questions, but out of the 20 questions, assuming there are 20 questions, if out of the 20 questions there are 10 easy questions, you need to attempt all 10 of them. You need to make sure that you're attempting all the easy questions as much as possible so that you can at least maximize the marks that you're scoring. This is true for each and every section. It does not matter which slot you are in. It does not matter what type of paper comes on the exam day. You need to maximize your score, which is attempting all the questions that you know how to do. Again, it comes back to the confidence and your accuracy level. If you know the formula, you can get it. If you're in the right zone to solve math, if you're in the right zone to read, you'll be able to solve it. Keep that in mind. That's the main thing. There is no fixed definition for how many to attempt, except as many as you can, keeping in mind the accuracy and the ease with which you're solving them. Now, the fifth point would be what you should be doing before the exam day. Like, what should you be doing before the exam, rather, when you go for it. So I have already covered a couple of points, which is just stick to the core, but mainly build your confidence. Build your confidence. Write down why you want to do this. Write down which colleges you'd be targeting. Write down the scores that you want. Write down the scores that you've got in the mocks. Try to build your confidence using yourself. You are your own. You have to be your own confidence. You will have as many friends and people supporting you, but in the end, it is only your work that matters. You have put in efforts. You've put in all the work that was required over the last few months. Remember that. Write down how much work you put in. Write down the sacrifices you made. Remember that all these sacrifices are going to help you achieve the aim next. So keep that in mind and just focus on how your confidence is going to take you to the next level. So a very good exercise over here would be to visualize you sitting in the exam hall. Visualize sitting in the exam hall. Visualize reading the verbal section, the parajumbles, reading the logical, the DRR section, DRR section, reading the quant section, going through each and every section and trying to understand what is being asked and how you're going to solve each and every one of it. That is the best thing you can do. Other than that, please stick to a good diet. Do not try to be hydrated firstly. The most important thing is being hydrated over the last 2 days. You don't want if you have less water, your brain does not work as efficiently as it would. Your body does not work as efficiently. So please make sure that you're drinking a sufficient amount of water. Apart from that, do a little bit of physical exercise. Keep your brain running. You need your brain to survive on the CAT day. It's not a mechanical exam. It is an exam where you need to constantly be at it to score the marks that you score. So keep in mind that these are the few things that you need to do on the last day before the exam, on the last few days before the exam. Now, the sixth point is the prep before the exam date. So this is more generic stuff like know the location of the place, print out the admit card, keep all the documents ready. Try wearing a mask for a longer period of time because you will need to wear the mask in the exam hall. They provide paper. They'll give you a booklet of 32 pages usually, so you'll be used to the booklet, and it's sufficient paper to solve all the questions that you need to. But carry a couple of pens, carry the admit card, be in the right zone. But before you leave for the exam hall, do a little bit of physical exercise. On the way, when you're going to the exam hall, if you have the luxury of traveling in a car, or if you are able to, if you're able to multitask at the same time, please do a little bit of math, do a little bit of reading. Try to, again, sticking to the core ideas that you require and try finishing that before the exam. So you're kind of practicing what you need before the exam and you'll replicate that during the exam. That's one thing that you need to know. And to sum it all up, the seventh point, please relax a little bit. There are only 2 days left. 2 days are not going to make or break your exam. But if supposing for any reason you end up stressing a lot in the last 2 days, then that breaks the exam. That definitely will break your entire mentality that you built up over the last few months. It ends the hard work that you have. Just try to relax a little bit. It sounds contradictory that you want to relax before an exam. Usually do it after an exam. But the CAT is an exam where you need to keep your mind cool. You need to keep your mind sane. You need to know that whatever marks you get, as I mentioned earlier, are the marks that you solved during the paper. It's not a function of how what you scored in the earlier mocks. It's that exam and how much you score on that day. So please, on the day before the exam, relax a little bit. You have prepared over this over time. Work on your confidence. The most important thing that I can say is if you are confident, if you can see while when you sit for the exam, when the computer screen is in front of you, if you can see the confidence behind you, if you can see or if you can see all your hard work behind you, that is when you know that you are going to ace the paper, irrespective of what happens in the paper. So build your mindset to reach that level that you will be able to solve the exams or solve the questions that you need to in the exam and solve what you require. But it is a function of you yourself. I cannot supply you with the words or the sentences that you need to motivate yourself with. But keep in mind that confidence is the most important point that you have to keep in the last 2 days. And a small side note I'd like to add here. So Scrabbler, as I mentioned in the earlier video, had a very big influence on my prep. And he had recommended watching Thor Ragnarok before the exam because that was something that pumped him up a lot. I had done that before my CAT exam. I had taken time out and watched the movie. It is a wonderful movie. It's something that gets the juice, gets that you know how. If you've seen the movie, you know what it's about. It has the energy. It gets everything going. The songs used in the song, in the movie, everything gets the energy flowing. But the point being, just relax on the last day. You have revised everything that you had to. So please try to finish everything before the last day. Keep the last day for keep some hours at least on the last day for relaxation. Try to keep most of it. Try to finish everything off before most of the day is done on the last day. Then just relax and be ready for the exam. Whatever happens is going to be a function of your past. And if you keep a calm mind, it'll be as efficiently as you can do it. There are lots of people who tend to make the exam bigger than it is. Please do not do that. It is not a very difficult exam if you're prepared for it and if you're ready to take it for what it is. But from all of us, all the best, guys. We really hope you do well. We really hope that this series has been useful to you. Do reach out if you have any queries, if you have any things that you want that are still not answered, and if you need any kind of help. We have a Telegram link in the group, Telegram group link in the description. You can reach out to us. You can reach out and ask what you require at this stage. We'll be there to help you. But please focus on what is needed right now. These 7 points are going to be more than enough to focus on what you need. But please relax and make sure that you give it your best. This is your one shot. This is the shot where you show everything that you've done over the last few months. Please grab this opportunity and all the best, guys. Do well and see you on the other side of things. Take care, guys. All the best.